A blessed day with you, class. For today's video discussion, we are about to discuss the fundamental accounting concepts, principles and standards. A glimpse to the complex world of certified public accountants like yours truly. So, fasten your seatbelts, it's going to be a bumpy but fruitful learning ride with accounting. First and foremost to learn about this course is basically the two significant concepts, what and who. What is accounting, and who needs accounting information? To wit, accounting is a service activity. Its function is to provide quantitative information, primarily financial in nature, about economic entities that is intended to be useful in making economic decisions. Kung saan, with the help of comparative, understandable, verifiable, timely and relevant financial information, stakeholders are able to make much effective, efficacious and efficient economic decisions towards prosperous stewardship of corporate business. Para mas madaling maunawaan, diverse stakeholders needs accounting data, indeed you're one of them. Government, management be it across proprietary, business and not-for-profit driven, financial analysts, employees, even prospect clients and actual investors at tayo po as corresponding consumers ang ilan sa mga probable users of financial information for various decisive purposes. Whereas in a corporate setup, accounting information should be delivered always in a timely manner. Hindi pwedeng latong data, kasi a wrong decision based on distorted reports could ultimately destroy and perhaps might lead into a business downfall. So, that's the essence of our course subject accounting. And to categorize those business organizations in accordance with its nature of activity, it is indeed traceable na mayroong nasa service type those who are engaged in rendering intangible hindi nakikita, na products known as services per se, to illustrate like accounting, legal and professional services. Another talamakika na type of business is the merchandising or trading business entities. Finally, the third common type relates to the produce and sell or manufacturing known as in-source businesses. If according to its ownership structure, there are mainly another three forms of business organizations. When manager and the owner is solely the same, which is generally traceable sa mga respective SMEs natin currently, sila yung under sa sole proprietorship, wherein profits were gained, and losses were suffered alone with full accountability and responsibility by the sole proprietor. And if you're an entrepreneur dreaming to work along with your co-corporate magnates soon, you need to build your own business empire through thick or thin. So, the undertaking to share the bottom line, the net income, and your losses as if you're in vain, in an agreed ratio is really a must under partnership type of entity. As per corporation which is currently could be either operated by one person only or various stockholders, but with limited accountability and liability as per operations of this artificial legal entity. Stockholders ang tawag natin for stock corporation while members naman kapag non-profit. In terms of management, which is hiwalay sa kaninang nabanggit na owners, board of directors kapag stock samantalang board of trustees pag non-profit, kapag educational institution naman, sila yung referred as board of regents like here in our beloved BSU. Another common classification of businesses nowadays is using its operational size as basis, expressed in terms of Philippine pesos depending on its net assets value, which is shown using the threshold illustrated here in the tabulated data. To understand more as per financial statements users, mainly those internal in nature, so naririyan po ang ating owners to gauge the profitability and going concern stability ng ating business in order to measure as well yung kanilang return on end of their investments. Also to assess, makumusta ang stewardship ng ating mga managers when it comes to operations, whereas the employees, to determine the status of his employment, kung the entity are still able to provide the contracted benefits and compensation in the long-term run. Next set of users are those classified as external, instilling those suppliers as the procurement and financial institutions like banks as to its loans and interests, if the corresponding company are able to pay its liabilities in short and much even more in the long-term range of time. Idagdag pa po rito ang government as to its lifeblood known as taxes, significantly as per check and balance of its regular financial reporting and tax compliance. Customers and ultimately the general public also have their own intended purpose as to usage in analyzing financial statements and other related reports. Let us now tackle the fundamental accounting concepts and assumptions we need to understand so as to apply across execution of the entire accounting cycle. First is the economic entity concept. In layman's term, hiwalay ang personal at business matters. For example, if you as the sole owner, happen to invest cash in the business. What happens to your cash investment? Yes, your cash decrease but on the personal point of view only. As per business entity itself, tumaas ang pera natin. To simplify, your personal assets and liabilities are indeed different from those with economic entities, in which what is being taken into account only are those related to business, not the personal one. Hence, called economic entity concept. Every business is assumed able to operate in the long-term range as if going concern. However, if there are indications that the company is no longer operating in going concern basis, it shall be fully disclosed in its financial reports. One of the great instances to cite that this assumption is not applicable anymore is when the company is facing a serious bankruptcy, hence there is no matter of going concern from that scenario, kasi there's no traces of succeeding operations for at least 12 months as its one entire operating cycle. Related into this is yung tinatawag nating periodicity concept. In order to assess the liquidity, solvency and profitability of a certain entity, its related life as if should be divided into accounting periods, which could be in terms of a year, be it a business from 12-month peak to slack season, or calendar year starting from January up to December, or even fiscal year na nag-uumpisa in any month except for January, which could be divided into monthly, quarterly, semi-annual or semester. So, that's why we as accountants prepare financial statements and reports in a regular routine. Another accounting concept is the stable monetary unit, assuming the Philippine pesos as the stable denomination over time of each and every accounting report to be accomplished, with no traces of inflation. Ma'am, paano po kapag a certain asset has been purchased in terms of Canadian, Euro or even US dollars, it hence should be translated into one and only common denomination, to wit in pesos. Next in line as per our online discussion are the generally accepted accounting principles or known as GAAP. Faithful representation equates to an objective financial reporting, ibig sabihin not subjective in nature. Therefore, every financial judgment and estimates, though not 100.1% accurate of course, but still should always have a faithful yet reasonable accounting basis not and will never be biased. Kumbaga, bawal ang hinula-hulaan at manipulated data kay accounting. Next po ay ang historical cost. To illustrate, if the company purchased a certain parcel of land. And yet, as we all know, ang tanging asset generally na nag-a-appreciate or increase gradually in value is the land itself. Binili ni entity 10,000 pesos per square meter noon, but as time goes by, sa dami ng establishments at land improvements within that vicinity, the value per square meter doubles or even quadruples, but again and again, as per recognition of purchase cost of that land, an accountant should still take the historical or the actual cost of acquisition, not the increased fluctuating value as a standard of cost recognition based on the related principle aligned. Another GAAP is the materiality concept, which is depending on the judgment of the management per se. For example, a 100 peso could be significant, sa madaling salita, mahalaga to a certain micro-business entity, hence material, but in perspective of large companies, that the same 100 peso is indeed immaterial naman as per evaluation, considering the materiality of the account information. In relation to this, judgment and estimates are not avoidable due to non-virtually certain events. Nevertheless, when it comes to accounting, we tend to lessen po ang overstatement ng assets, hindi dapat overvalued ang as if ari-arian ng ating business entity, and sa kabilang banda naman ay no understatement as per liabilities, debt or utang. Overall, kay accounting, we tried to be conservative when it comes to assumptions made across accounting cycle. No overvalued assets, no undervalued liabilities to avoid wrong and disadvantageous decisions of users. Another principle to learn with is the RRP, Revenue Recognition Principle. Sa kung kailan tayo nararapat na mag-recognize ng sales kung merchandising at manufacturing, at revenues naman kapag service type. Wherein, revenues should and must only be recognized in a certain period whenever such is actually earned or realized. Masasabing na-realized or na-earned na ang isang revenue kung ang goods, produkto ay na-i-deliver na. Ma'am, kahit di pa po nababayaran, revenues na po. Sales na po ba accounted yung nabanggit na transaction? Yes po. Paid at hindi as long as the goods that has been sold were actually delivered in realization of the sale transaction. As per services naman, the actual services should have been rendered already, still paid man or hindi pa rin. Paano naman po kapag nauna po ang payment, usually the earnest money kung tawagin, nagbigay po ng down payment or baka po mamaya binayaran na po in full, but the relative goods or services are still not yet delivered nor rendered, is there any revenues to be recognized? Isa pong malaking wala po. So, that's how our RP works. Next, is the ERP. As per expense recognition principle, expense should only be recognized when such has been incurred already. Ma'am, Nag-a-apply rin po ba rito yung paid or hindi na konsepto, as long as incurred, considered as expense still under accounting? Yes po, one good illustration is the electricity you have consumed for the current month, payable generally in succeeding month. Again, kailan po need mag-recognize ng nabanggit kanina na utility or electricity expense, in current or succeeding month po? The answer is the actual period of incurrence, kung kailan na konsumo, which is in the current month. As per adequate disclosure, it connotes that whatever supplementary information that we, accountants are able to provide should be objectively and adequately presented in order to support the financial statements and reports prepared to assist the users again in their decision-making. Therefore, ang pinakamahalaga when it comes to financial reporting is the ultimate analysis and understanding it could provide and assist with, dahil roon po papasok ang saysay ng ating course subject, which is accounting. Inclined with this is the concept of reliability and objectivity of the data wherein accounting records should at all times able to be confirmed by independent observers, known as auditors. In short, input must be reliable, the data per se, in order to arrive at the most appropriate output, best corporate decision. Last fundamental accounting concept to discuss with is the consistency, which is indeed correlated to the concept of comparability. Kung saan as per general assumptions, the same accounting method should be used and applied all throughout the accounting cycle from period to period, in order for the financial statements be comparable in nature. Nevertheless, if it is really evident that there is a much more appropriate and justifiable method to use in order to account the transactions and events properly, pinapayagan po ba ito sakali? Actually, yes, as long as there would be a full disclosure to be made, as all the respective changes will necessarily be accounted for. And that's it. I hope you become more excited and curious with regards to the complex learning world of accounting. See you class, in our next fruitful learning. Thanks much.